in the interest of 1/4 of humanity which lives in this part of the world, that we can join heads and hearts, and we can work on combined and collective research and of course development as well. And the final point, and then I'll stop, that is about of course agriculture. In agriculture, we know the water scarcity that is hitting our part of the world very badly. And I'm not updated on numbers for India or for Bangladesh, Nepal, but in case of Pakistan, 90% of our water use is in agriculture. And there is often a debate that when we are talking of more water, when we are talking of construction of dams or cross-border water disputes, etc., we should also see that the water available with us, how we can rationally use it. So when we are growing rice under standing water, which of course in your side of Punjab as well, and when we are growing sugarcane, and then we give subsidy to export sugar or export rice. So basically we are giving subsidy to export our water, at least in case of Pakistan. And again, on these things, we need to learn from each other. What are the best practices? What are the things that failed? Land use plans, similarly agroecological zoning. So there are, I can keep counting the list of things on which this region need to collaborate. And I'll stop with the SAARC food banks idea, which of course was approved, it was operational, and we need to see that what is the fate of that SAARC food bank, and can we really, and then there was the SAARC gene bank idea as well. So looking at the biodiversity, the rich biodiversity that this region, especially India and Nepal and Bhutan, they possess. So the SAARC gene bank, that other multinationals, they don't come and they don't patent our genes. So these are, I think, some of the things on which we need to see that how we can achieve the goal to making this region a hunger-free region through our mutual collaboration. We have a very rich panel with us. We have Dr. Mustafizur Rahman, we have Dr. P.K. Anand, and we have Mr. Joseph Judge, and of course we have R.V. Bhavni as well. So if I start with Mustafiz, sorry. Yes. So if we can.
Afternoon, everyone. The chair has thrown open a wide canvas, which would actually require, there's so much to be covered when you talk of agriculture, food, and nutrition security. You'll all agree that we would, require so much more time for meaningful deliberation. I have chosen to dwell today on one aspect of this, work that we sharing insights from work that we did at a regional level. First of all, before I start, I wish to thank Professor Sachin Chaturvedi of RIS for immediately agreeing when I requested him, whether we could have where there could be a regional forum where I could share this, and he immediately said, we are having this meeting in early October, and then UNESCAP agreed, and so thanks to RIS and UNESCAP for bringing in LANSA as a partner to share our work on agriculture, leveraging agriculture for nutrition. Now, the whole context, the chair set it to some extent in the sense of where are we in terms of food security. What is it that we mean by food security? A definition that's up there, which a lot of you would be aware of. And how is it important for us here in South Asia, a region where a large population is dependent on agriculture and which also houses a large undernourished population, a fact that Ambassador Mohan Kumar referred to early in the inaugural session today. And in terms of the largest, compared to sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia is kind of worse off. And in terms of those are figures from the Global Nutrition Report of 2017, in terms of every 5 of the world's stunted children and more than half of all wasted children are found in South Asia. So this is work that we did under a research consortium program on leveraging agriculture for nutrition in South Asia, which had Afghanistan, Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan as the focus countries. And I'm very delighted that there are representatives from all these countries present here today. And also we also did some work in Nepal. And in fact, given the regional tensions, inter-country tensions, problems of visa between India and Pakistan, we also ended up having our consortium meetings in Nepal and Sri Lanka. So the core issue that we addressed during the course of our work has been in terms of given this context, how can South Asian agriculture and food policies be made to have a nutrition-sensitive focus, to bring in, like when you talk of agriculture, it's largely production, productivity, but given this problem of malnutrition, how do we bring in make agriculture have a nutrition-sensitive focus? Looking at agriculture policies, nutrition-sensitive interventions that will work, and also the value chain, because there is also a huge population, including farmers who are producers, who depend on the market for some or other of the products that have to be accessed. So essentially, largely when we talk of agriculture and food security, it's on increasing, like I said, on increasing production of food, but the markets have a very large and important role to play. And given this region, there is also a large sector of the market, a segment of the market is in the informal sector. So those are the challenges, and large population, the poor, vulnerable, nutritionally vulnerable populations also depend on the market for sourcing their food. So how do we leverage market-based interventions to improve diets of low-income populations? What is the role of the state? What is the role of business? Again, Professor Deepak Nair mentioned in the morning that we shouldn't be depending on the state for everything. What is the role of business, the private sector, which is a large player? You have the informal sector, you have the SMEs, and you have the multinationals, you have the large business players. So this is a study that we undertook across the 4 lands of focus countries, and what I will be sharing with you is some key insights that came from the case studies that we did to throw up some of the issues which we could then, I would, if the panelists could dwell on, or we could also have some questions from you. In terms of what are the pathways to deliver nutritious foods from agriculture to nutritionally vulnerable populations, what are the key challenges and opportunities, and what are the policy implications that come from this. So when you look at the pathways for improved nutrition, there is this cyclical pathway. At the consumer end, the need to provide for them to have nutrient-dense foods, the undernourished populations or malnourished populations to have nutritionally dense foods. The enabling environment which will facilitate this. What is in it for the industry, for firms to have a nutrition focus? What is the incentive for them there? Does it work? What is the overall larger industrial environment, the infrastructure support? That was something which was discussed in the previous session in terms of transport infrastructure, accessibility issues like that. So we looked at the dairy value chain across Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Pakistan. We looked at an initiative of wheat flour fortification in Pakistan and what are the issues thrown up there. From the business angle, we looked at the Gramin Danone social enterprise initiative in Bangladesh, and in India we studied the Britannia Industries Limited, which had the nutritionally dense iron-fortified tiger biscuit out in the market, and looked at Amul Spray, which is again a nutritionally dense infant milk food. And from the state side, as a part of food distribution program, the supplementary nutrition program under the Integrated Child Development Services in India, how is that functioning? What are the different opportunities available there for different actors to play a role? So I'll just run you quickly through each of these to give you a flavor of what we found. So in terms of from the business angle, so this was Gramin Danone was set up as a social enterprise to address the problem of malnutrition, undernutrition, as well as engage rural women and address the problem, creating employment and addressing the issue of poverty amongst them. And in terms, it was fortified yogurt which was identified, where the milk being procured from low-income households, and then the distribution also being done through women who were the Shakti ladies. But they also developed a model of cross-subsidization, where in urban areas, in upmarkets, they were charging more for the yogurt to balance the low price at which it was being sold to the low-income consumers. And in terms of, they were, to some extent, they were able to achieve, a fair amount of, success, but the plant that they set up was operating in 2014 only at 60% capacity. This cross-subsidization strategy was something which worked. There was challenges in the input supply. How do you, balance the pricing of your product vis-a-vis the cost of the milk? In terms of ensuring consistent availability of the milk through the milk collection centers was a challenge. And then the market expansion, how do you increase outreach? And in terms of, again, nutritional impact, the initial study before introducing the product was that at least 3 cups a week needs to be consumed by children for the anemia situation to be improved. But they were not really able to establish the study that we did showed that it did not really lead to that kind of impact. But the potential was there, which was, which is what was important. So the major issues which come up from this was in terms of finding the right marketing and distribution channels for commercial viability for private enterprise to take it up. So I would like to mention here about, like, for instance, in India, we studied the iron-fortified tiger biscuits model. That was, again, under supervised consumption. It was shown that it leads to reduced levels of anemia. But once the company strategy changed, the iron-fortified tiger biscuit was withdrawn from the market, or in the sense leading to the question as in, what should be the state's role be here? Should iron fortification of biscuits be made mandatory? Will that be something that is needed for the industry to have a nutrition focus? There have also been views that nutrition should be seen as a corporate responsibility by companies and not just corporate social responsibility or charity, because again, the bottom of the pyramid represents the largest market segment for the business as you grow. So we need to be partners in addressing the SDGs. There are also issues of consumer preference and acceptability. So when I spoke to some people in Bangladesh, it was also like the product chosen itself was not right. In terms of yogurt is not something very popular in Bangladesh among the local community. In India, an insight into the public food distribution system. We looked at, so we have similar pilots, like for the school nutrition program, have been tried out in Bangladesh. We have a midday meal program in India. So again, there is a lot of scope here for potential cross-learning. Under the ICDS, the target are pregnant women, lactating mothers, and children in the 0 to 6 age group, where there is the supplementary nutrition that is provided. And in one state, Telangana, we have a state-led enterprise manufacturing the product, which it was a dedicated enterprise set up just for manufacturing for the government food distribution program. But the challenge there has been that it's now functioning with underutilized capacity, because the state of Andhra Pradesh, which was Andhra Pradesh earlier, has now got bifurcated, and it's now catering only to Telangana. So those are the challenges in terms of it needs to be made to cater to other states as well. Whereas in Tamil Nadu, what happened is we have a model where there is the state, there are women's cooperatives providing, who make the blend. There is also a private sector manufacturer in the picture who manufactures the fortified blend, supplies it to the cooperatives, which mixes and packages it, and then supplies to the ICDS center. So this is an interesting public-private partnership model, which is again showing good results. And what we found is, looking at what is brought out here is the importance of state commitment. Both these states are spending more than what is allocated under the scheme per se. And we did a simple exercise to examine the association between the prevalence of undernutrition and the state expenditure, and found that the undernutrition levels are low where the state is making more expenditure on addressing this population, this problem through direct this kind of food intervention program. So looking at that as an important link in terms of providing sustained, safe, nutrient-dense, adequate food to women and children, the target being largely poor and vulnerable households. And in the context of, and again, something which is very important in the issue, context of countries across the region. In Pakistan, the flour fortification, this is an initiative which is being looked at seriously by the government. There is GAIN, Micronutrient Initiative, World Food Program, all being involved. But the challenge here is that wheat is the major, although it is the major food of the population, and iron fortification can be a very viable means of addressing the problem of anemia. A large segment of the wheat processing happens in the informal sector, which is chakki level.